All right, welcome to the second half of the class today. And it's right action this week. So over the last few weeks, we've actually had a look at the Buddhist path, obviously of the Noble Eightfold Path, and we have seen that it can be divided into a path of vision and path of transformation. So and our aim in Buddhism is to move towards directly seeing the nature of reality. That's what's basically the kind of aim and goal. And as we increase our vision, as we've looked at vision and emotions, we change our emotions and the habits and also our needs. So we move to work on all aspects of ourselves, body, speech, and mind, and of all areas of our life, because Buddhism kind of radically changes ourselves and our environment, our friends, everything, our life, and jobs or no jobs in that matter. So we looked at speech last week by Karunanatha, which was great. So the most immediate way to express our inner world is obviously actions. And actions of body, speech, and mind. That's what the Buddhist path actually says. And also the knowledge that and the awareness that we know that actions start in the mind, so that we actually form an idea of something and then we speak and act upon it. So this week, let's look at right action. And this. Yes, so can you see the slide? Basically, right action or right conduct is samyak kamanta. And the Buddha's main idea of right action is not to do harm. And by not doing harm, that's basically an overall idea of how we actually behave in the world. And that's both to ourselves and others. And if we actually become more and more aware of the idea that we have, basically we are all, then all of our actions become samyak, because we realize that whatever we do will actually harm all of us. That includes ourselves. So, and by that, we actually create good karma with body and mind. And by undertaking to basically abstain from the body, classically it's the body precepts of taking life, of taking the not given, and the not doing sexual conduct. And I wanted to read from the Buddha's mouth, from the Kunda Kamaraputta Sutra. And he says, and how is one made pure? In 3 ways: by bodily action. And there is the case where a certain person, abandoning the taking of life, abstains from the taking of life. He dwells with his knife laid down, scrupulous, merciful, compassionate for the welfare of all living beings. So we see here already that the opposite of taking life is compassion and metta. He does not take, abandoning the taking of what is not given, he abstains from taking what is not given. He does not take, in the manner of a thief, things in a village or a wilderness that belongs to others and have not been given by them. So again, it's very obvious that we don't go around stealing things, but the question is much, much deeper. And the question is, as we looked in a few weeks ago, that there are so many things that we can give, but also take. And obviously we can do take money, but or practical things. but we can also steal time, and basically the Buddha basically gave us the advice to look at what's given to us. And about sexual misconduct, he says, abandoning sexual misconduct, he abstains from sensual misconduct. He does not get sexually involved with those who are protected by mother, father, brother, sister, relatives, or Dharma. This is how one is made pure in the 3 ways by bodily action. So the question of how we act with body, speech, and mind is a very important one, because it creates how we actually live and how our life becomes in the future. So the law of karma, and karma means action. Not a lot of people think that karma means the results of karma, but it is actually the karma vipaka, that is the fruit of the action that we quite often think is karma. So with our being, we have got basically a choice how we act, and it is vital that we govern our principles that we actually take on, like precepts, for the sake of ourselves and others. Hence, the 5 precepts are important. And to look at them, we look at, obviously, not taking life, like the Buddha said, taking the not given, sexual misconduct, and also speech and the mind precepts, because they're also actions. So as Natalie mentioned before, she read the discourse on the kleshas, or poisons. The reason why we actually behave with greed, hatred, and delusion, and why we take life, and why we take the not given, or behave unskillful in sexual misconduct, is because of the poisons. And the poisons are raga, or passion, dvesha, or hate, rage, anger, irritation, mana, conceit, pride, or ignorance, irshya, jealousy, envy, and that all comes from the fear of the annihilation of the ego. And then moha, or avidya, ignorance, delusion, all of these things. So, and Buddhism teaches that it's really important to become aware of them. And the more we become aware of them within us, the more we can stay in the gap. Lots of us will know about the gap between Vedana and Trishna, really. It's not where we are going from the sensation to the craving. And not if we stay with the sensation, which in that case is, if there's anger inside me, I know there's anger and I don't act on it. And if there is pride or conceit, I experience it, but I don't act on it. And the same is for all of the others. So the aim is to look at cultivating the positive. So for me, it's been always a question of where are my kind of downfalls. And from the 3 bodily precepts, I found the taken of life relatively simple, because it's something that just was very natural to me, and taken the not given as well. The question for me was in the 3rd precept, because I have been quite promiscuous in the past, and the before marriage. So the question of how do we act, and everybody will know how the actual emotions can run wild if you're in love, and how many kind of negative mental states arise if you've been abandoned. So there are so many different difficult issues there that basically adultery and promiscuity is classed in Buddhism as sexual misconduct, whereas anything else is basically okay if both partners are in agreement. And as we know, no means no. So it's really important to get consent. And there's also a question of looking at basically people who are above you. So if they are in a status in whatever way, you need to be careful about that. That can be a problem and potential risk. So looking at the positive precepts, we obviously try to orientate ourselves more and more and more in very subtle ways from the negative to the positive precepts, and become more aware that we actually have an immense tool of metta and generosity. And the question here is, metta bhavana is an incredibly powerful intention, or metta, not the bhavana. The bhavana is a cultivating. So the question is, sorry, I just need to find something. Yeah, sorry. Can you still see me and the screen? Yeah, okay, good. So when we look at the precepts, it's a question of how can we change the positive into the negative, the negative into the positive precepts, and how can we make them more refined? And that's where mindfulness comes in, and the four right efforts. And I've encouraged everybody to look at them a bit more in increasing the basic skillful actions that haven't been arisen yet, and maintaining the ones that we actually have already cultivated, and at the same time then letting go of the ones that we know are unskillful, and cultivating the ones, and basically, sorry, we know all the ones that I'm talking about: eradicating, cultivating, maintaining, and there's one missing, but I know I'm pretty sure everybody knows which ones they are. So looking at generosity, the question is always, as Buddhists, I think that in the East, we feel that people are very generous and very hospitable. But if you look around in our Sangha and other Sanghas, I think we are not doing too bad ourselves. We give each other presents, and we spend time together with each other. We give talks. We, make sure that the meditations run, and we can give money if we have. And I do think all these things can be cultivated and basically help us on the way, because a metta-full heart will be generous. And the other thing is, the more we become metta-full, and our first response can always be metta, the more we actually bring upon the world the Brahmaviharas of compassion and sympathetic joy, and then equanimity, the third one, where we change this kind of greediness of I want this to stillness, simplicity, and contentment. And from a personal point, I really think that over the years I've radically changed my life from being somebody that was looking at finding more and more, pride, more and more skills, more and more money, more and more sexual partners, to really radically changing around and letting go of things, and clutter busting, and I do think that becoming married was a really important part, because it meant that I didn't have all that energy that I needed to find a new partner to basically, well, for a better word, pacify the lust. And I do think that letting go of that was an immensely important part. So looking at generosity a bit more, we can actually look at the parts that are very, very important about metta. So it's both a liberation from craving for external things and kindness to others and oneself. And as I said, it basically makes us more content. And we realize, and I specifically can echo that, we know how little we actually need. I think Zoom has really taught us a lot about how little we really need. And the Buddha asks, what is the next thing to do? And we ask, what can I get? And that's something that kind of motto has stuck with me when I read that first in the book a few years ago. And I really felt like, yeah, how can I actually change my life to give more? And since I've retired, I've got very, very little money. So selling the house has definitely made an advantage. So that will make life a lot easier. But there is also this ripple effect where the more we give, the more we get. And I've really noticed that, how much generosity there is in the world if you give. And the other thing is, it's also got a negative ripple effect, that the least you give, the least you get. And that's actually a beautiful thing to say, thing to see. Sorry, PA here. Thing to see. So our actions are very important, because the law of karma actually decides on, basically makes our life, and the intention behind our actions determines if our action is skillful or unskillful. That's an important point as well, because we can actually do the same thing with a positive outcome or a negative outcome. For instance, if you, for instance, just walking across a lawn can be potentially killing people. But if you're actually walking across a lawn in order to help somebody, that would then be a positive outcome or a positive intention. And the question is, with our life, do we want to increase our skillful actions with body, speech, and mind, and live happy and content? And I can really say that the Brahma Viharas do actually really make your life different, really for the better and for others around you. Or do we want to live in deceit, jealousy, distrust, and hatred? So I think that's enough. Thank you very much.